It has been said that variety is the spice of life, but in traditional user interfaces, it's typically a good idea to favor consistency over variety. In a web or mobile application, the user experience would be negatively impacted if buttons were to appear in different locations each time the application is launched, or if labels on fields were to frequently change. Although it's important to maintain a consistent and recognizable experience in visual user interfaces, it's better to mix things up when it comes to voice user interfaces. By changing the way Alexa responds to an utterance, you create the illusion that she's alive and not just repeating a canned response. Moreover, by randomizing her way of phrasing a response, you force the user to be more attentive and not tune out what might be important information. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Alexa Presentation Language for Audio, or APL-A for short, to randomize Alexa's replies. Although APL-A can do much more than just randomizing what Alexa says, this is a great technique that helps you ease into using APL-A for rich voice responses. So let's begin. Alright, here we are back in the exact same Alexa skill that I created when demonstrating how to create external or custom slot types external to Alexa itself. I'm going to pick up where we left off there, and in this video I'm going to show you how to randomize the responses. So if you're looking at this intent handler here for the wait time intent handler, you see that the responses are fairly hard-coded. In the case of when Alexa doesn't know what attraction is being asked about, if she doesn't recognize it from the slot type, she is always going to say, I don't know anything about that attraction. Now, we could change it so it says something else, but it's always going to say whatever that is, the way it's coded right now. Likewise, down a little bit further on line 17, if she does recognize the attraction, she is always going to say the wait time for whatever the attraction name is, some number of minutes. It doesn't matter what the attraction is, we're pumping those values, the attraction name and the wait time in. It doesn't matter, but she's still going to phrase it the same way. The wait for Haunted Mansion is 20 minutes. The wait for Jungle Cruise is 25 minutes. The wait for Space Mountain is 15 minutes. She's always going to say it exactly the same way. And so, variety is the spice of life, and if we don't have Alexa create a variety of responses and reword the phrase, change the phrasing every time she responds, she's going to seem a little less alive, a little more robotic. And so let's add an APL directive, an APL-A directive, as we'll see in a moment. We're going to add one of those to have her respond with a random response. So start with, I'm going to go create a new file, a JSON file. We're going to call it waittime.json. All APL-A, and for that matter, Alexa Presentation Language APL documents are always in JSON format, and they look a little like this. So I'm going to start by just creating a very simple basic APL document. We're going to say its type is APL-A. This is not a video on creating visual APL documents, but the structure is more or less the same, even if you're doing that. The version is next. We're going to say version 0.9. The main template, this is kind of a piece of the template where we describe certain things about the template. It's going to have in there, among other things, parameters. And those parameters, we're going to bind them to something called payload. And we'll see how this is used here in a moment. Okay? Then, under parameters, we're going to have the actual content of the APL-A document. So under items, we're going to say this. We're going to have this, and we're going to give it an element. All elements in APL-A are just JSON objects, and in this case, the JSON object has a type of selector. Now, selector is one of a handful of components that APL-A offers, and it's got several options with it. These options are categorized under the property called strategy. And strategy there's several different options we can give here. I'm not going to go over all of them in this video. because we're going to focus on randomizing the response. And specifically, the way we do that is we say random item. And what it means is we're going to specify several different items that Alexa could say. And by saying the strategy is random item, she's going to pick one of those. Okay? So the strategy is random item, and the items that she can choose from are going to be in this array called items. And among those, they're going to be of type speech. All of them will be type speech. There's different types. There's speech is when you want to have Alexa talk. There's another element called audio where it plays some sound file. We'll see a little bit more of that later in this video. There's also silence if you want her to pause or not say anything for some period of time. But speech is what we're looking for here. So speech, and the content in question is something like this. We're going to have her say the current wait time for, and this is where we're going to use that payload. I'm going to say payload dot attraction dot name is, and we're going to say again payload dot attraction dot wait time, and then minutes, and we'll get rid of that extra curly brace and we'll be good to go. All right, so this is one of the things that she could say. Now if we stopped right here and we went over to the fulfillment code and we added in the code to add the APL directive, which we are going to do in a moment, but if we stopped here and didn't do anything else, she will still pick a random item. Now there's only one item per to pick, so it's always going to be the same one, but we're on our way to having everything we need. But let's go ahead and mix it up a little bit by adding a few more. And so I'm just going to copy and paste those, add a few commas to separate them, and we'll get to the next one. How about we say something like currently the wait time for whatever the attraction name is some number of minutes. And maybe for the final one, we'll mix it up even more. We're going to say something like payload.attraction.name currently has a standby wait of payload.attraction.wait time, and then of course the unit of minutes. All right, so now we have three options here. These are all three options that Alexa could choose from. She's going to randomly pick one each time, and we could add more. If we can think of other ways to rephrase this, we could add as many of these as we want, and she'll pick randomly. And the more the merrier. It's going to be a little more lively if she has different ways of saying this each time. So it's not a horrible idea to add other options. But we're going to stop at three for now, just to kind of keep it simple for demo purposes. All right, that's it. That's all we really need to do with our APL-A document at this point. So let's head back on over to the intent handler, and here we're going to change things up just a tiny little bit. First off, I'm going to leave the hard-coded speak output here for now. I'm going to change it out in a moment, but for now, just to kind of focus on what we need to do, I'm going to say handler input dot response builder. And notice that's the same thing I'm returning down here. When I say handler input, response builder, speak output, and get response, I can actually build up my response anywhere I want in the handler, in the handle method, in the intent handler handle method. I can do that anywhere I want. It's not until we call get response that the actual response is built. So as part of this builder, I'm going to say add directive, and the directive I'm going to add specifically is a JSON document whose type is, and this is a little bit of a mouthful, so bear with me if I make a typo or misspeak, alexa.presentation.apl-A. It's important that you put an A on there, otherwise it's going to treat it as a visual APL document. All right, we're also going to need a token. It's really difficult to explain exactly what the tokens are good for, and they really don't, at least in this example, not going to help us a whole lot, so I'm going to kind of gloss over it for now. I'm just going to put a hard-coded value of wait time in there. We can talk about perhaps what they're really good for in some future video, but for now we're just going to go ahead and hard-code it as wait time. And we're finally going to add in, well, not finally, we got one other thing after this. We're going to add in data sources. This is the model data that we're going to be passing to the APL-A template. Now you'll recall in the APL-A template we referred to the model data via payload. We said payload.attraction.name and payload.attraction.waittime. Well, this is where we define that payload. So I'm going to say attraction, and the attraction is going to have a name, and that name will be, well, we already have it up here. It's attraction name defined on line 14. Let's say attraction name, and we're going to have a wait time. And the wait time is also already defined. We see that on line 16. It's defined in the wait time variable. So there we go. Now we just need one other thing. We just need to tell it which APL-A document to use. So document, and we're just going to import it. Require.waitTime.json. There we go. That's it. All right. With that said, I'm going to go toss a semicolon on there just to make sure that's nice and neat. And we're going to have to tweak a little bit of our output now, because now you see what's happening is we're setting speak output and we're still speaking it. We don't necessarily want to do that. So what I'm going to do is take speak output out of the common handling. I am going to remove my setting of speak output here, and I'm going to say else. If the attraction was not understood, then that's where I'm going to say handler input dot response builder, blanked for a moment on what that's called, and I'm going to have it speak the speak output. Cool. That's if we didn't understand it. We'll see how to mix that up in a little bit and show how to do the same thing and how to randomize that in a moment. But for now, that's probably a good place to stop. So if it worked, we're going to respond with an APL-A rendered document. If it didn't, we're just going to speak a hard-coded text for now. That's all we're going to do. All right. In fact, I guess one other thing we could do, just to kind of make it a little bit neater, is move this down here. And since it's no longer variable, we'll make it a constant and clean that up. All right. I think we're good. So with that said, let's test it. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I haven't changed the interaction model whatsoever, and that's good. It makes it a little bit easier to work with. I am going to go over here to my window, and I'm just going to say ask run watch. So I'm going to be running this locally, and I'm going to interact with it remotely, but the Alexa runtime running out in the cloud is going to actually call back into my local machine when it comes time for it to fulfill a request. It's kind of a cool little trick. I actually have another video on that. If you check the show notes on this, I'll put a link in there for that other video. But for now, just know I'm running it locally. It makes it a little bit easier, so I don't have to get pushing all day long. Just to, in case I made a mistake, I don't have to push it, see the mistake, fix the mistake, push it again. Running locally is a lot more convenient that way. All right, with that said, let's give it a test. I'm going to pull in my browser here with the developer console in it, and I'm going to close my download window. I'm going to ask it, what is the wait for Jungle Cruise? And hopefully it'll work. If not, we'll fix it.
The current wait time for Jungle Cruise is 40 minutes.
Hey, it looks like it worked. Let's try it again and see if we get a different answer.
Jungle Cruise currently has a standby wait of 40 minutes.
And let's try it again and see if we can get that third one in there maybe.
Jungle Cruise currently has a standby wait of 0 minutes.
Yeah, it's giving us the same choice. It's going to be a little bit hard to hit it.
Jungle Cruise currently has a standby wait of 45 minutes.
We'll try one more time. If not, we'll just trust that at least we got two different choices.
Currently, the wait time for Jungle Cruise is 30 minutes.
And so now we have all three choices. And see, it was random. And so each time she responded with the wait for Jungle Cruise, we got a different wording of that response. So now let's go, based on what we've learned here, let's go do the same thing again for the case where she doesn't understand it. All right, let's come back over here. And obviously we're going to be putting a directive in here instead of the speak output. We won't need this anymore. So we'll replace this with this. And we're going to say wait time. That actually, the token doesn't matter. The wait time, we don't know what it is, so it can't pass that in. What about the attraction name? Where are we going to get that attraction name if she didn't understand it? Well, the good news is we can't get the attraction name as a resolved value, but what we can do is we can at least set the attraction name to what she heard. So we say resolved value.value, and we'll put that in there. And now we're going to say wait time. What do we want to call this? How about we change it to unrecognized, oops, hope if I spell it right, unrecognized attraction.json. So we're going to create one of those. I'm going to say new file, unrecognized, that's apparently a hard word to type, attraction.json. And it's going to be very similar to the one we already have, so I might as well just copy and paste it rather than type all of that all over again. So in unrecognized attraction, we'll paste that in, but what we're going to say is, instead of saying the current wait time is, we're going to say, I don't know anything about payload.attraction.name. Or you can say maybe, I've never heard of payload.attraction.name. Or maybe you could say something like, I don't know, payload.attraction.name isn't an attraction that I know anything about. Okay, there we go. Now I just hit save on it. All of my stuff is saved, and if we hop back over to my window, you can see after a few saves it's restarted my local debug session, so I don't need to deploy it or anything. I just need to try it again. That's all I need to do. So let's come back over here. Let's kind of refresh the page just to kind of clear up some of the noise on the left side there. I'm going to ask it about Jungle Cruise. I just want to make sure that I didn't break anything along the way there.
Jungle Cruise currently has a standby wait of 45 minutes.
Great. Now let's ask it about an attraction she doesn't know. Our interaction model knows nothing about Space Mountain. So let's ask it about Space Mountain. So ask park wait, what is the wait for Space Mountain?
Big Thunder Mountain Railroad currently has a standby wait of 15 minutes.
Well, that was an interesting thing that happened there. Even though she does nothing about Space Mountain, apparently the word Space Mountain has enough of a match with Big Thunder Mountain that it matched up. So maybe I should try something else. That is a peculiar behavior, but we're not going to worry about it right now. There are ways around that. I'm going to say ask park wait, what is the wait for Dumbo?
I've never heard of.
See, she said something. She chose one of those things out of the APL-A document, but she was not able to resolve the name. Let's see if we can figure out why. All right. So here we have, I've never heard of payload.attraction.name. That looks correct so far. I don't think I made any typos in there. Let's go to the wait time and see if we put that in there. Data sources, payload attraction name. That all looks really good. Let's see what the resolve value is. Maybe I pulled that out of the value or out of the request incorrectly. Let's see what we got here. This is what's great about using the developer console to do this kind of stuff, is you can see the JSON that was actually sent to it. And so you see here we have some JSON, and it has in there, among other things, where's it at? Request. You see attraction, and you have value. So that slot value, actually this is what I pulled here. Slot value has a value of Dumbo. It should have Dumbo in it. So that is peculiar that it didn't pass it. Let's see if we can look a little bit deeper down here and see if we can find where it's sending that directive. That will be in the response. I'm looking on the wrong side. It'll say payload. Okay, great. Our attraction has nothing in it. That's peculiar. You can see that the data source has attraction, but there's nothing in it. Well, that is odd, because you can see right there I'm setting it. I don't normally like doing debugging like this in a video, but hey, why not? Let's see what happens. Console.log attraction name. Let's see what it's set to. All right, so you should see that this is restarted again. Let's ask it again about Dumbo.
Isn't an attraction that I know anything about.
All right, so she said something, some blank value isn't an attraction she knows about. Let's see what it logged over here. It logged it as undefined. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, except for the fact that I feel I should have got it. Let's take one more quick look at what we got here. So resolved, oh, I think I pulled it out of the wrong place. Slot value. I was asking for it from resolved value. I should ask for it from slot value. That's what I should have done. There we go. I think this is going to fix it. Sorry about that. We'll give it one more try. Hope for the best. Let's ask it one more time about Dumbo.
I've never heard of Dumbo.
All right, and it worked. Now, because it's an unresolved value, it's just what she heard. I can ask the same thing. I can say, ask park weight. What is the weight for cheeseburgers? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's whatever I typed. In this case, I'm typing it, but it's whatever Alexa would have heard. It's not resolved, and therefore, even if it's capitalized or not capitalized, doesn't matter. It's just what she thinks she heard.
Cheeseburgers isn't an attraction that I know anything about.
And so you see, it didn't understand it. But again, if I were to ask instead for something she does know about, such as ask park weight, how long is the line for Big Thunder?
Big Thunder Mountain Railroad currently has a standby wait of 5 minutes.
And so it works. Great. Now let's try something completely different. Even though I've satisfied the goal of this video, which was to randomize the output, I want to mix it up a little bit because there's so much more you can do with APL-A. I don't want to spend the entire video time and make this video an hour or 2 hours long to show you everything that APL-A can do. But I don't mind adding one more thing to the APL-A just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to edit wait time. And you're going to see we have all these items here. You can see all sorts of different things that are going on in there. We specifically selector with these 3 items, and that's it. Let's add something else to it. And I'm going to move things around a little bit, so bear with me. It's going to take a second to get to where I want to go. I'm going to add in a different type of component called a mixer. And what the mixer does is allows me to mix items together. I can mix audio together. I can mix voice together, I can mix whatever together, and they will play at the same time. So here we go. The items I'm going to mix together are going to be, first off, my selector down here. The very same thing I've already had her doing all along. I'm just going to copy it out of there. I'm going to add it in here. Now if I stopped right here, I have a mixer. It's mixing my selector that selects a random item with nothing. So it's going to essentially, even though I've added some JSON in here, it's going to essentially do exactly the same thing it's been doing all along. Where it gets interesting is when I add another item to the mixer. So here we go. I'm going to add in an audio component. I really hate it when the IDE pops up little pop-ups and get in my way, but we'll live. And I'm going to paste in a source. I'm going to copy it from an off-screen location just because I didn't want to have to try to type it all. It's kind of a long name, but I'm borrowing this audio source from the Alexa sound library. It's one of hundreds of sounds that are available in the sound library. In this case, it's going to play sort of a fairy melodic chime. I mean, this is Disney that we're talking about after all, so a little bit of magic added to our sounds is going to be really awesome. Now that sound is going to play at roughly the same volume as the voice that is speaking the wait times. So let's add a filter on there. Specifically, the filter I'm going to add is a volume filter. And the volume I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to an amount equal to 0.5, which is essentially 50%. I also could have done it this way. Personally, I don't like that format. I prefer this, so I'm going to say 0.5. All right, great. Let's save that. We're going to see that, in fact, it restarted because of that save. I am going to just clear this just to kind of refresh it, and we're going to ask it about Jungle Cruise again. So listen and see if we can hear those chimes in there.
Jungle Cruise currently has a standby wait of 25 minutes.
And it worked. Now, listening to that, perhaps 50% was not enough of a reduction. Maybe I should have reduced it even further because it did seem rather loud. But it did, in fact, work. It mixed in chimes in the background while Alexa was talking. And I only show you that to say this again, that there's so much more you can do with APL-A than randomly selecting voices or randomly selecting blurbs of text for Alexa to speak. But the main point of this video was to randomly select random things for Alexa to speak. So, with that said, let's recap. By randomly selecting different phrasings of a response, Alexa can appear to be more lifelike and focus attention on the user. Among its many abilities, the Alexa presentation language for audio can be used to not only separate the voice view from a skills fulfillment, but also randomly choose what Alexa says in reply to a user utterance. If you like this video, then you'll love my books. Build Talking Apps for Alexa has an entire chapter dedicated to APL-A, and the book overall covers many other aspects of voice application development. And Spring in Action is a guide to developing Java applications using the popular Spring and Spring Boot frameworks. Thanks for watching, and tell your friends and colleagues about my videos. I'll be back soon with more videos showing how to develop voice applications for Alexa.